More and more reports are now coming in that three of the biggest streaming applications have now been completely shut down. We have this one here where they've announced that they are now completely shutting down. We have this one here where they're basically saying that they are now discontinuing support for the application. So no support, no content, goodbye application. And this one now just completely crashes as soon as you try to launch it. So, and the crazy thing is, people thought that this was the big A trying to shut these applications down, but this is nothing to do with them. There's actually something much bigger happening behind the scenes. And if I'm right, this could now begin the next wave of a massive crackdown on these streaming applications. So do stick around because I'm going to show you the exact shutdown messages. I'm going to show you what's really happening behind the scenes. I'm going to show you exactly why these developers may be abandoning these applications. And most importantly, what you as Firestick or streaming users need to think about next. So let's jump right into it. Now, before we start, please do hit that like button so this video can go out to as many Firestick or streaming users as possible. Thank you. Now, the first application today, let's talk about the T one because this has to be one of the oldest applications or one of the ones that's been around for a very long time. Super easy to use. I know lots of people probably installed it as their first streaming application. But as you can see on the screen now, if you try to launch it, you see this exact message. So this application has been officially discontinued and is no longer supported. Thank you for your support. No further updates or services will be provided. So it's one thing saying that we're not going to provide any further updates, but to actually say that they're not going to provide any further service, which essentially just means that goodbye, it's over. We're now not going to provide any more content through this application. So pretty shocking news, guys, but you can see more and more of these applications now. More and more pressure is being applied to these developers. So you can imagine with that much pressure, it would be very difficult to continue carrying on. And we can see in this case, they've decided to throw in the towel. And this is just the first one. Next one, we have the G1, or I think it was movie something before, which was then renamed to the G1, as you can see here. So by the official team for the application, they're now saying that due to technical issues, will be discontinuing support for this application. Thanks for using it. So you can see, guys, again, very similar story. They're not saying like, oh, the big A is blocking us or Firestick is now blocking this application or anything like that. They're just saying simply, we're not going to continue supporting this application anymore. So it definitely looks like the pressure has been applied. Maybe it's Ace, maybe it's another big organization, but when they come down really hard. They put that pressure on, and essentially it's a case of either you're going to stop publishing this application, working on this application, or we're going to see you in court. So it looks like that's what's happened with this one as well. Now, the last one I'm not going to demonstrate, but you know, it's the B one. I've had just so many reports now that as soon as you try to launch the application, it's an instant shutdown. So typically with these applications, when you first launch them, they do call back home, maybe just for tracking to see how many people are using the application, maybe also to check for updates. But we can see now, if you do try to start the application, it's just an instant shutdown. So in fact, do leave me a comment below if you have noticed this with that application or if yours is still working today. But the majority of people have reached out to me for that one. It definitely looks like across the board, there's now no further support for the application as well. And again, with this application, I do think with the same trend, it is just pressure being applied to the developers, probably from ACE or from other organizations who are known for going after these kind of providers. They're going after sellers of certain boxes, definitely application providers. Even some Telegram groups have now been hit by notifications from ACE because anywhere where you can find this kind of content, they want to try their best to completely shut down to make sure that their clients' work is not being infringed or that copyrighted content is not being infringed. So, and the shocking thing is, out of the box, these applications don't contain any content directly in them. So they are just search engines. You could call them scrapers. They don't provide the content directly. They just search the internet for you. So in that way, if applications like that can also be shut down, then who knows, tomorrow maybe they'll start blocking certain browsers because they'll say people are using these browsers to watch streaming content or access certain websites. It does look like it's going in the wrong direction. And for most of these developers, why just have a massive target on your bag? I think in many cases it's just easier and safer just to throw in the towel and just leave these applications and let potentially somebody else pick it up. But regardless of which applications people use, privacy online is becoming more and more important, which is why I personally recommend using a VPN when doing anything online, particularly on your streaming devices. I do use IPVanish when accessing any of this content. It's super fast, super secure. And if you do scan that QR code, you'll get a special price just for the month of May. So wrapping this up, guys, I don't think these 3 applications will be the end of this story. I do think more and more applications are going to be slowly phased out. More pressure is going to be applied. If you have 100 applications, then maybe it's easy to hide under them. But slowly, as the numbers go down to just a handful of working applications, you can imagine even more pressure is going to be applied because there's only a few left that actually work. But I personally don't think there's still anything to worry about in the long run because the demand for this kind of content is always just too high. Do leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think, and I'll hopefully catch up with you guys real soon. Thanks.